In the winter of 1916, inside a lavish palace on the banks of the Neva River, a group of Russia's most powerful men gathered for a single purpose: to kill one man. His name was Grigori Rasputin. To some, he was a holy healer. To others, the devil himself. That night, they believed they were saving their country by ending his life. Welcome to HEH TV, where we explore the untold stories that shaped history. The story of Rasputin begins far from the glittering palaces of St. Petersburg. He was born in 1869 in a small Siberian village called Pokrovskoye. The people there were poor, isolated, and deeply superstitious. Rasputin grew up with no formal education. He couldn't read or write well. But even as a young man, there was something unusual about him. Villagers whispered that he had strange powers, that he could heal the sick or predict the future. As a teenager, Rasputin lived a wild, chaotic life, drinking, fighting, stealing. But after a reported vision of the Virgin Mary, he suddenly changed. He left his family behind and began wandering from one monastery to another, claiming to seek God. He called himself a pilgrim, and soon he started gathering followers. People said he could pray for hours without rest. Others said his eyes could hypnotize you. He was both magnetic and disturbing at the same time. By the early 1900s, Rasputin's fame had spread far beyond his Siberian village. He reached St. Petersburg, the capital of the Russian Empire, where the royal family lived. The city was full of mystics, fortune-tellers, and healers. Spiritual figures were fashionable among the upper class. But none of them would make an impact like Rasputin. In 1905, Rasputin was introduced to Tsar Nicholas II and his wife, Tsarina Alexandra. The royal couple had a secret pain. Their only son, Alexei, suffered from hemophilia, a life-threatening disease that prevented his blood from clotting. No doctor could help him. Every injury could mean death. Then came Rasputin. When Alexei was bleeding internally, and doctors had given up, Rasputin prayed beside the boy's bed. By morning, the bleeding stopped. The royal couple believed a miracle had occurred. From that moment, Rasputin was no longer a wandering peasant. He became the most powerful man in Russia's royal court. His influence over the Tsarina grew quickly. Alexandra believed Rasputin was sent by God to protect her son and guide her family. Whenever the boy fell ill, Rasputin was summoned to the palace. Each time, Alexei recovered. Historians still debate how Rasputin managed it. Some say he calmed the Tsarina's nerves, which helped the boy. Others suggest he used hypnosis or simple rest instead of harmful treatments. Whatever the truth, it worked, and it made him indispensable. But power has a price. Rumors began to spread. Aristocrats whispered that Rasputin controlled the royal family. They said that Tsarina was obsessed with him, that he was manipulating her decisions, and even worse, that their relationship was more than spiritual. The more the royal family defended him, the more people hated him. Rasputin didn't help his own case. Despite calling himself a holy man, he lived like a sinner. He drank heavily, visited brothels, and was often seen in the company of women from all levels of society. Many of them claimed he had hypnotic eyes and strange powers that could cleanse their souls through sign. The newspapers had a field day. Caricatures showed him as a devil whispering in the Tsarina's ear. To the public, Rasputin became a symbol of everything wrong with the monarchy: corruption, hypocrisy, and decay. And as Russia's troubles grew, so did their hatred. By 1914, World War I had begun. Russian soldiers were dying by the thousands. Food shortages and poverty spread across the empire. While the Tsar was at the front leading his army, Rasputin remained in the capital, advising the Tsarina on government matters. Ministers came and went at his word. He became known as the Mad Monk, and people believed he was destroying Russia from within. By late 1916, powerful nobles and politicians decided something had to be done. They blamed Rasputin for the empire's chaos and feared he would bring total collapse. The man who led the plot was Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the richest men in Russia, and the Tsar his own cousin by marriage. He gathered a small group of conspirators, including Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich and right-wing politician Vladimir Purishkevich. Their plan was simple: lure Rasputin to Yusupov's palace, kill him quietly, and save Russia. On the night of December 29, 1916, Rasputin arrived at the Yusupov palace. He was calm and confident, dressed in his usual dark robe. He believed he was going there to meet Yusupov's wife, Irina, but she wasn't there. Instead, the prince led him downstairs to a basement dining room. On the table were cakes and wine, supposedly poisoned with cyanide. As Rasputin ate and drank, the conspirators waited upstairs, certain he would collapse. But nothing happened. Minutes passed, then hours. Rasputin laughed, sang songs, and kept drinking. Yusupov began to panic. Finally, he took a pistol and shot Rasputin in the chest. The holy man fell to the ground. Yusupov checked his pulse. No movement. Believing him dead, the conspirators went upstairs to celebrate. When Yusupov returned to check the body, Rasputin's eyes snapped open. He leaped up, clawing and gasping, blood pouring from his side. He attacked Yusupov and tried to escape. The prince screamed for help. The others rushed in and fired more shots. Rasputin stumbled out of the palace, into the snowy courtyard, trying desperately to flee. To make sure he was dead, they tied him up, dragged him to the frozen Neva River, and threw him into the icy water. When his body was found days later, the autopsy revealed he had been shot multiple times. There were water in his lungs, suggesting he was still alive when thrown into the river. The poison, however, showed no trace in his system. The famous poisoned cakes were likely just a legend. Rasputin had survived almost everything except bullets and freezing water. His death was meant to save the empire, but it came too late. Within months, the Russian monarchy collapsed. The Tsar was forced to abdicate. Revolution swept the country. The Romanov family was executed. The conspirators fled or were exiled. The man they called Russia's most hated had outlived his killers in history. Rasputin's story didn't end with his death. It became legend. His life inspired songs, films, and endless myths. Some say he was a prophet who saw the empire's fall before it happened. Others call him a conman who fooled an empire. The truth lies somewhere in between. He was both a mystic and a manipulator, a man of deep belief and dangerous influence. Modern historians have tried to separate fact from fiction. The idea that he single-handedly caused the fall of the Romanovs is exaggerated. The empire was already crumbling under war, poverty, and weak leadership. But Rasputin became the perfect scapegoat. He embodied the fear and superstition that haunted Russia at the end of its royal age. What made Rasputin unforgettable was not just what he did, it was what he represented. He showed how easily power can be twisted by belief. The Tsarina trusted him out of love for her son. The nobles feared him out of pride and paranoia. The people hated him out of desperation. And through it all, Rasputin walked a thin line between faith and madness. His eyes, described by every witness as cold and hypnotic, became a symbol of dark charisma. Those who met him often said they felt both peace and terror in his presence. Even after death, stories of his spirit haunting Russia spread quickly. When the Bolsheviks took power, they banned all talk of him, but they couldn't erase the myth. A century later, Rasputin remains one of the most mysterious figures in modern history. He wasn't a king, a general, or a noble. He was a peasant who rose to the highest circles of power, shook an empire, and refused to die quietly. His life reminds us how fragile power is, and how fear can turn a man into a monster in the eyes of a nation. When people think of evil advisors in history, they mention Rasputin's name first. Yet he was neither purely evil nor purely holy. He was human, flawed, and ambitious. He found a system full of cracks and stepped right through them. He gave people what they wanted most in times of chaos: hope, no matter how dangerous it was. The men who killed him believed they were heroes. They thought his death would cleanse Russia. But instead, it became a symbol of how desperate the elite had become to save a system that was already doomed. In trying to kill corruption, they revealed their own. The legend of Rasputin teaches an uncomfortable truth. History doesn't always remember heroes, but it never forgets those who challenge power in strange ways. Whether as a holy man or a sinner, Rasputin forced an empire to look at itself, and what it saw terrified it. He came from the frozen fields of Siberia and died in the frozen waters of St. Petersburg. Between those 2 points lies a story that has fascinated the world for more than 100 years. A story of faith, fear, and obsession. A story about the man who would not die. This was killing Russia's most hated man. The story of Grigori Rasputin, where faith met madness and changed history forever.